today.
Oh, yeah, I think about it.
Yeah, Cheryl's going to church with her mom, so she won't be here. And hey, Tommy and Sonia, how are y'all?
Sir.
So is Kathy. So Kathy will be, I don't know that day.
There weren't too many people here today.
Yep. We're gonna be a little, I think we got a lot of people traveling today and we're gonna be a little short today.
Hey, everybody. Anybody else want to have? Did y'all get books from the next Cameron? Okay. Y'all the big size? Okay.
Yeah. I still have to write you. Thank you.
Yeah, we usually don't let you in. Yeah, he's been in it. So yeah, don't be quiet. No. No, that's not how they do it.
All the social work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that money go?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll wait for you outside.
That's awesome.
Yep. David's got it.
Morning, how are you? How's everybody?
That coming behind you, Tony?
Yes, she is.
I saw her walking on the hall.
I don't know where she went.
She was up there.
Where she ends up, who knows? Put that away.
Probably talking.
Yeah.
She was talking to.
Just like I must have been for me. But. I pulled mine back on the
Oh, we should. I learned a long time ago, I can't keep up with her.
All right.
What about that?
You got both these things, shingles done.
Finally, yeah. That last one was a doozy that
Oh, really?
I felt bad from that last. First one didn't bother me.
That's usually the second one.
Second one, not for a look. Of course, I was having allergy problems too. I've had some recent problems. Allergies.
How are you?
And that's it, make it
Well,
worse.
I wasn't here. I wasn't here. Okay. There's stickers. But I got one. I got about it. It's already time for next time. It's big. But only these ones you can't read it. Well, I
Yeah.
guess yesterday. Yeah, I like that. I think we got one of those.
You have a good week this week?
Yeah.
Did you have a good week this week? All right. You get a whole lot of rain? Yeah, we're not around here to get our way. We're gonna have more next week.
Gonna be raining. It's funny. one day I actually-
All right, if y'all are ready, we're gonna get started. Y'all help me. What time is Sunday school supposed to start? 9, what? 10:45, okay. Well, I want us to try to be a little bit better about starting on time, but so we can end on time, because like we were really late last Sunday, and I enjoyed talking, but you know, that just makes a long day when you don't get out, if people got plans for lunch or whatever, but anyway, we're gonna try to get started so we can get going. But we've got some really good lessons. Tommy and Sonia are on here too, so I don't believe there's anybody else.
Oh, sure did.
All right, we'll count them. But the title of the lesson today is Where is the Balance? And it's hard when you got to come here and teach after the preacher has done something. Like, here I got to come in and teach behind that, but that's okay.
Because they don't have a bad son. It's
All right.
always bad.
Where's the balance? The wise person realized God offers wisdom to the imperfect. Takes a lot to balance our lives today, doesn't it? Seems like to me it's gotten worse than what it used to be. And I don't know if that's because we don't organize our time like we should, or if it's the world we live in today. Seems like we had a lot more time when I was, but maybe it's because I wasn't an adult growing up. Maybe that's, I didn't have all the worries of the world on me. But there's a lot of things that take up our time. We have to balance our Christian duties, our job, our families, and that's 3 big things. That's a lot right there. Yeah, that's enough. Plus, we have to balance everything going on in the world. I haven't been as good about watching the news lately because it's so much negativity on it that I have quit. Didn't realize everything that was going on in Afghanistan. And I watched that today, and that broke my heart because there's going to be a lot of people suffering, I'm afraid, over there because the Taliban has they are rearing their heads again. But we're not going to get into that today, but that's just something to keep on your prayer list, because sometimes when we don't watch the news, we don't know what's going on. And shame on us, because we need to keep up with what's going on in the world today. Yeah, they're trying to get people out of there, and I'm afraid that I'm afraid there's lots been undone. But anyway, Solomon had asked God for wisdom when he first started a long time ago. He became the wisest man in the world. But what happened to Solomon, and I think Anita touched on a lot of this last Sunday, but he married a lot of women. He married Pharaoh's daughter and married a lot of women, brought all these pagan gods. He started building temples to all these pagan gods, and he let that take over his life. But he was the 3rd king of Israel. We know he built the temple in Jerusalem. We also know he built temples. Later on, he built temples for other gods. He signed many foreign agreements by marrying these pagan women. That's what he did. He excessively taxed people, and then he started failing to obey God. So, and if you go back, I'm going to read a little bit. Go back to 1 Kings chapter 10, and that kind of gets part of it, but there's a lot of 1 Kings you need to read, and I'm not going to go into all that. But 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 26. Solomon accumulated chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses. Now, where would you put all of that?
I hope you have a lot of land.
Which he kept in the chariot cities and also with him in Jerusalem. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and cedar as plentiful as sycamore fig trees in the foothills. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and from Kew. The royal merchants purchased them from Kew at the current price. They imported a chariot from Egypt for 600 shekels of silver and a horse for 150. They also exported them to all the kings of the Hittites and the Armenians. King Solomon, however, loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughters, Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, I don't know if I pronounced that exactly right, and Hittites. They were from nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, you must not intermarry with them, because they will surely turn your hearts after their gods. I don't know if y'all remember that. We've studied that about he told them, do not intermarry. You know, when they were supposed to be destroying some of those, they were supposed to wipe out what? But did they? No. So this is where it's coming into play here. Nevertheless, Solomon held fast to them in love. He had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines, and his wives led him astray. As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. Now, we just heard about some of that, didn't we? So that's what happened. He let his wives lead him astray, but he had to be willing to be led astray. Okay? This is what I preach in my house. They probably get tired of hearing me that. I can answer for me. I cannot make you do what's right and what you need to do. You have to answer for yourself. I can lead and guide my family, and I can try to tell them what's right, but in the end, I can only answer for me.
And that's true for every person. You know,
So
because if we could, there wouldn't be any bad people in the world.
That's right.
If we could make everybody do that.
So this lesson today is about finding that balance and finding the will of God. But we've got to have God's perfect wisdom to live in an imperfect world. Does it seem today like the wicked prosper? Yes. Why? Seems like they,
We're in a fallen world.
Yeah.
Rains on the just and the unjust.
that's right. Our God is sovereign. He is the supreme. He has a supreme and ultimate power, and he has justice over all. But we've got to fear God and place our hope in him. And fearing God means submission to, respect, and dependence on. So that is where we're going to talk about today, some of this balance. And we'll see that Solomon had kind of figured out he had messed up. And that's what this whole Ecclesiastes is about, is a lot of the things that he had messed up on when he realized it. So, but he let other people lead him astray. The one crucial lesson he learned was that God's perfect wisdom is the best guide for living in our imperfect world. It's God's perfect wisdom, nobody else's. Too many times today we want to follow somebody else. So I'm going to read this a little bit. Solomon urged submission to the government as the right thing to do. Living in a world where evil seems to be winning is challenging. The injustices of the world can generate doubt in the believer's mind. Solomon instructed God's people to persist in pleasing God. So let's read the first couple verses. Well, I did want to read a little bit about Solomon so we can kind of remember where he was at, because he prayed for wisdom. God gave it to him. He was the wisest person in the world. People come to him seeking his wisdom, and that's where all these other pagan gods got involved. Wisdom is as good as an inheritance and an advantage to those who see the sun, because wisdom is protection as silver is protection. But the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the life of its owner. Okay, this first verse, wisdom is as good as an inheritance, an advantage to those who see the sun. All right, we have wisdom. What do we have? Knowledge. We're blessed, right?
Yeah, we have preservation.
Yes. Yep. All right, what about an inheritance? What is an inheritance? Something you didn't work for. What else? It's a lot of things. What else? A blessing.
It's a gift to our descendants.
Yep. A lot of it's money. I mean, that's how the world looks at it, right? When people talk about your inheritance, what they talk about? A lot of times your money. So wisdom is as good as an inheritance and advantage to those who see the sun. So what's better, wisdom or inheritance? Wisdom, yeah. Wisdom's a lot better because what's going to happen to money?
It's gonna burn away.
Yep. You ever seen maybe some people inherit a bunch of money and then what happens to it? Yep, gone, poof, wasted. Yep.
Well, I mean, you just look at the excavations of the pyramids.
Mhm.
The Egyptians buried the kings with all their wealth.
Yep.
And how many tens of thousands of years later, they're still there.
Didn't get them any good, did it? Money can vanish. If you have wisdom, it helps you in life. It helps you go through just daily living. Helps you make the right choices. But sometimes that money can get us into making the wrong choices. So, a wise person can be a better steward of the inheritance. And some inheritances aren't just money, are they? Those are the best ones, aren't they? Maybe knowledge and inheritance is some of the knowledge that person passed on to you.
It's we work all day Friday, all day yesterday.
Well,
And that's what it's all about. You know, because that generation was not wasted.
yeah,
And it's amazing what they reuse.
it is.
Today we just put them in the recycle bag,
Or we throw them away.
or throw them away, and
A lot of things we throw away.
yeah, I mean, it was just, you could tell it was a completely different season
Yep.
because of the things that we found today.
Because wisdom is protection as silver is protection. Wisdom can protect you if you use it correctly. Silver was protection because of the money. But the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the life of its owner. What is a preserve? Yep, keep for a long time. If I'm canning and I just put my spaghetti sauce in the jar and just screw a lid on it, what's going to happen?
Hopefully you're not going to eat it.
In
the next couple of
days. Yeah. Not preserving it, but the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the life of its owner. We have the best knowledge of anywhere in this right here. But we got to use it. And we've got to read it and we got to study it. I'm being very guilty of not studying my lesson and stuff like I used to. Do we try to study the Bible like we should? We let this balance of this world skew us. And we don't study and do things like we should, but we've got the wisdom. We just got to open it up and use it. So. Mhm. Mhm. Yep. Yep. All right, the next verse that's laid down. I don't have my book in front of me. Is it What's the name? 13 by itself? Okay. 13 and 14 are laid down? Okay. Consider the work of God, for who can straighten out what he has made crooked. In the day of prosperity, be joyful, but in the day of adversity, consider. God has made the one as well as the other, so that no one can discover anything that will come after him. Consider the work of God, for who can straighten out what he has made crooked? Can we change what God has put into place? No. Are we supposed to want to? No. So if he made it crooked, are we going to change it? So consider the work of God. Take a few minutes and consider everything God has made. God does not, that saying, God don't make no junk. He does it. He doesn't make people that are junk. He doesn't make things that are junk. Consider everything he made. We can't overrule his divine order. Nothing we can do was going to alter the work of God. And sometimes I think we can. Does man not try to alter God's work?
Every day.
Every day. Why do we try to do that? Yep. Why do we think we know better than God?
Because we foolish.
We're not using that wisdom God gave us.
Because we're not balancing our lives out between the world and God.
Yep. You're right. Yeah.
We're allowing the world to rule and reign
Yes.
in our hearts and in our lives instead of
Yeah.
the opposite.
And we live in an instant world.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
a microwave world.
Yeah.
I can remember when we bought my mama her first microwave, we thought that was cat meow. We had to go all the way to Charlotte to get it. I was teenage.
That was a longer way, but
Yeah,
back then. than
it
is
was a
now.
long way. We didn't have 485 and all that. But I mean, we thought we had hit something when we had a microwave and you could just stick it in there and warm it up in a minute or two. Now I have to put it on the stove. But think about it. For who can straighten out what he has made crooked? In the day of prosperity, be joyful, but in the day of adversity, consider this. God has made the one as well as the other. God made adversity and he made prosperity so that no one can discover anything that will come after him. We're going to have good days and bad days, aren't we? And sometimes it's going to seem like them bad days outweigh the good days, doesn't it? Because when we get in that valley, it seems rough.
It is rough.
Yep, it is.
It's that valley.
Because we forget about them good days, don't we? We don't know, we're all sitting here today. We don't know what tomorrow morning's going to hold when we wake up, if we wake up. None of us know what tomorrow's going to hold. Everything can change in an instant. We can be cruising and then the bottom drops out. That happens. Life happens. We've got a lot of people that's sick right now in our world, in our church. They were going along fine, and then all of a sudden cancer hit, or heart disease, or whatever it might be, or unexplained things. We've got some people right now that don't know what's going on in their bodies. But we've got to understand that we got to start looking at adversity just a little bit different.
Right, how many times have you ever thought, say, well, if I had foresight, like I had hindsight, then things would, my whole life would have totally changed.
Oh yeah.
But then if we could go back in time and change certain parts of our lives,
Mhm.
then we would have missed out on the experiences that we had to go through, the adversities we had to go through, which then becomes our testimony.
Yeah.
Because our testimony is not just from the time we got saved, it's continuous, it's every day. what we can reach out. So we have to consider those things, and that's
Mhm.
the balance. So I'm trying to convey.
have you went through something and couldn't figure out why, and then you had the opportunity to help somebody going through the same thing? You had either you could talk to them about it, you could encourage them through it. And that's what we're supposed to be. If you've gone through something bad and you know somebody else going through something bad and you haven't tried to encourage them and talk to them and use your adversity to help them, shame on you, because people, when they're going through bad things, they need that. They need to know somebody else has been here. Somebody else has been here.
They're not alone.
Yep. And I need you to help me right now, because sometimes everybody handles adversity different. Some people, you know, they're gonna make it and they're gonna be okay. There's other people, it will drive them away from church. It'll drive them away from their family. It'll turn their hearts bitter. And they need a friend to help them through it. And everybody's situations in here are different. Everybody's been through different things. But you've got to know that there's somebody that you're going to be able to help one day through that same thing. So, mhm. Mhm. Yep. Yep, getting them to listen is another thing. All right, what are some of the things people go through? What's one of the first things people go through when they're going through adversity? How about denial? This is not happening to me. Maybe they're avoiding the truth. I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to get away from this. All right. Then some people try to conquer it. And then you can embrace it or you can sit on it. Why? Here's a question. Why can't we trust God's ways are always the best? Why do we try to fix it? Why can't we trust that God's ways are always the best?
Because we think he takes too long.
Yes. We don't like pain and suffering because, hey, that's rough. And we think God takes too long to fix things, don't we? Because we want it fixed because everything's instant nowadays. We want it fixed like that. Yep. When a doctor cannot find something that's wrong with us, we get upset, don't we? Yeah, sometimes we might not be at the right doctor, but sometimes they're human.
No, they ain't.
They just can't figure it out. But we want it fixed, and we don't understand that God's ways are always best. I wrote down here, God may allow our bad times to draw us back to him. Sometimes he lets us go through them a little bit longer than what we want because we're not where we need to be. And that's a hard pill to swallow because we want it over. We want the bad times over and we want to get done with it. But sometimes God says, okay, I'm going to use this. I don't think that God allows everything bad to happen to us. Sometimes it is a direct result of something we've done. Sometimes he does get our attention. I can't tell you in your situation which way it is. You know, now if you smoke all your life and get lung cancer, yeah, I could tell you. There's other people I know that get lung cancer that didn't smoke a time, never smoked in their life. So, but there's some things we bring on ourselves, but God sometimes lets us stay in it to get our attention, draw us back and get us where the right place where we need to be. All right, let's go on. I'm not going to take this forever today. So this is a good lesson, but you just need to read it and understand. We think sometimes Solomon was full of gloom and doom, but Solomon was trying to get our attention because Solomon had got so far from God and he had let these pagans take over. And he was not worshiping God like he should be. So the next one's about finding balance. In my feudal life, I have seen everything. Someone righteous perishes in spite of his righteousness, and someone wicked lives long in spite of his evil. Don't be excessively righteous and don't be overly wise. Why should you destroy yourself? Don't be excessively wicked and don't be foolish. Why should you die before your time? It is good that you grasp one and do not let the other slip from your hand. For the one who fears God will end up with both of them. So here he's talking about his futile life again. So he realizes that he had gotten away from God and he had got to worshiping other gods and he was in a place he shouldn't have been. I have seen everything. So someone righteous perishes in spite of his righteousness, and someone wicked lives long in spite of his evil. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do bad things happen to good people?
Does to it teach us our reliance on God and trust in Him.
Mhm.
All right, that God used foolish things to confound the wise.
Yep.
And the world looks at us that we're foolish for having faith in God.
Yep.
And He lifts it up. Well, trusting on the word of God, come through the adversities of life is our testimony. And that's what we have to understand. We can't rely on other people's testimony.
That's right. God wants us to approach life wisely. He wants us to make wise choices. He wants us to pray about it and ask Him about it. I think that's one things that we all forget. Do we ask God first? Always. No, sometimes we jump in there and say, I'm gonna fix it. I can fix this. I don't need God. I got it. I got this one. You know, God wants the small things. He don't want just the big things. I don't know why that's so hard for us to, learn those lessons. He wants us to make wise decisions and he don't want us to shoot from the hip. But why do some people die young, but wicked people live a long time? It's because the fallen world we live in. And, I've seen some people before, we say, well, gosh, as much as they've screwed up, and they're just evil, they're not a Christian, they don't worship God. Why do they keep getting all the good things happen to them? We don't know what their life is like when they're not around us or in private. We don't know the turmoil that they do go through.
And the sad part of that is that in the end, they don't have
That's right.
that, and that's, that's a sad, we look at it as they're prospering,
Mhm.
but it's really sad. If you think about it,
Mhm.
they're gonna have the good, what we perceive as good here, and they're, prospering here, but in the hereafter.
Yep.
It's a sad story. They're not Christian.
Now, I told y'all before about his wives. Well, he loved a lot of his wives more than he loved God. Why did he need all them wives and all them concubines? I mean,
Right.
yep. What did he need all them for? He didn't need all that. He was clearly trying to fill a need.
No wonder he prayed for wisdom.
Yeah.
He needed wisdom on how to deal with all that.
Bring it on yourself. Just bring it on yourself.
All right, I want you to listen to these two verses because it ties into those three verses. It's Exodus 20, verse 12. Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God has given you. Now think about that, so that you may live long in the land your father's given you. And Deuteronomy 5:33 says, walk in obedience to all that the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live and prosper and prolong your days in the land that you possess. Now, does that necessarily mean that if I do that, I'm going to have a long life and I'm going to live to be 95 or 100 years old?
Not at all.
No, it doesn't. And too many times I think that's what, if you live a life that is full of godly wisdom, then you need to count that a long life. Why some people live to be 20, some to live to be 50, some live to be in their 80s or 90s? Some of it is their genetics, because you can look back and then you can see that in their family lives longer, like they might, some families have heart disease history, or some families have, just other many health issues. But what we've got to do is live the life that God gives us, following him in his godly wisdom, and then we will have consider that a long life, a long fruitful life.
Well, God, the New Testament, like Jesus said, man's days are numbered by the Lord. And he also went on to say that live today honoring the Father, because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring.
That's right.
We look at it too as longevity of life as being a blessing from God, but if you're a Christian and you happen to die at 25, have you lost anything? No, you go to heaven, right? And so the longevity of somebody who's not a Christian, maybe that's a blessing from God, giving them more time to accept him. Not that he's blessing them just because of behavior, but he's giving them opportunity after opportunity to change.
That's the way you pray for people who are,
Yeah.
yeah. Let them live long enough to accept.
Yeah.
Because we don't see it as that, but that is such a good point, David, because they need to accept Christ. We need to want them to accept Christ. Because you're right, the 25-year-old that's accepted Christ, they know where they're going.
That's game.
Yes.
Well, something I learned many years ago about balance in life, that on this subject, that we don't see the spiritual life of a person. We don't know where they are spiritually with God, but God knows everything about each and every one of us. So if somebody dies in their 20s, and you question why that happened, well, sometimes God will take somebody when they are the most perfect spiritual with him.
We may think we know.
Because he knows the future, and he knows the frailty that, well, this is the most perfect they're going to get spiritually. Well, tomorrow they might fall and betray.
Yep. Because we don't know
We don't
that.
know.
We think we do, but we don't.
We don't.
That's right. So do we do good deeds out of genuine faith and wanting to please God, or because we might get a special reward? That's a question I wrote down while I was studying. Do we do good deeds out of genuine faith and wanting to please God, or because we might get a special reward, or we want people to look at us? Oh, look at what I did. Think about it.
I think you can find yourself in all three of those positions.
I do.
Absolutely.
I do.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'm.
In one day.
All right, God created us to seek his righteousness. So read through those verses and think about that. We're going to get to the last two verses. Wisdom makes the wise person stronger than 10 rulers of a city. There is certainly no one righteous on the earth who does good and never sins. That's a really important verse.
Mm-hmm.
There is certainly no one righteous on the earth who does good and never sins. Don't pay attention to everything people say, or you may hear your servant cursing you. For in your heart, you know that many times you yourself have cursed others. Wisdom makes the wise person stronger than 10 rulers of a city. You think about that. One ruler of a city was really strong. They were the ruler of the city. You got 10. But wisdom is what makes us strong. And that doesn't mean, I'm not talking about strong picking up something. I'm talking about strength you have in your Christian walk. God's the only one who can save us from our sin. Nobody else can do that. Can't be your mama or your daddy or your kids or the preacher, nobody. We are all sinners saved by grace, and there's not anyone perfect who exists. We all sin and we all fall short, and we need to remember that. So, a couple questions I've got for you. What areas do people find it difficult to accept God's plan? I'm gonna write these down because we got this board up there, we don't ever use it. What areas do people find it difficult? In what areas of their lives do people find it difficult to accept God's plans? Finance, oh, that's a big one. What else? Help, yep, that's a big one too. Lifestyle. What about your Christian walk? Not right.
What about our jobs?
Oh, yeah.
Our spouse?
Jobs, marriage. We could go, we could just keep going, couldn't we, family? We could go on and on and on.
So it was,
Oh, wait,
it's been several Sundays ago now, but he was preaching, and y'all remember, he was talking about, being a Christian and being, what's the word I'm looking for, consistent,
Mhm.
and, being a Christian at home and at work, and, and on the way home, I told me, I said, well, I've either got to quit work or church.
All right. Let's take it one step further. We'll go down through each of these. And the question is, how can we more fully trust him? How can we more fully trust God in our finances?
Be good stewards of what we do.
Be good stewards of what he's given us. What about our health? How can we more fully trust him with our health? And number one, because this applies to some people, as far as our health, we're either one or two ways. We're either over here, I ain't going to the doctor, they can't help me, there's nothing they can do. Well, then it gets worse and worse and worse. Or we're either over here, where our toe hurts, you go to the doctor. So there's a fine line there. Be good stewards of it, right? And don't expect miracles from the doctors, because they're not miracle makers. We need to remember who makes the miracles.
Well, it's also, basically, even with everything there, is seeking God, and
Yeah.
asking him.
Yeah.
What does he want me to do?
We've got to trust him though in all this. We don't need to start it, say, oh, I'm gonna take care of this. And then, oh God, I got to have you. You're gonna have to help me. Try to trust him more in all of this. Yeah. But some of these are just hard. They're all hard, but we got to put God first in everything and find that balance. And that's hard to do nowadays. I'm not going to tell you it because, when I made the decision to change my job, I did it because of the stress I was under. I did it for a lot of things. I did it for more money because I knew we're never going to get a raise with the school system. And people say, well, money's not everything. No, it's not everything. But sometimes you have to look at all of this and say,
Yeah.
what is best for my house? And then you got to do, I did a lot of praying about any of these, that one especially before I did it. Because I was a lot happier at my other job with people I work with. But there was other reasons why I did it. There's a lot of other reasons, and I had to do a lot of prayer before I'd done that. But do we pray in all of this before we do it? Or sometimes we try to get into it and say, I'm gonna take care of it first, God, and then if I need you, I'll ask you. Too many times that's what we do. God, I'm gonna try to take care of this, and then if I need you, I'll ask for your help. Ask for God's help first and find that balance in your life. Because right now, preacher was talking today about school starting back. I'm really worried the school's not gonna last long. Because, I told y'all where I work at, the numbers are going up. And I went to the doctor for my annual checkup and I asked her, I said, well, I asked her, because I thought she's gonna tell me the truth. This is what she said. She said, we're finding that the people that were vaccinated that got COVID are doing a lot better than what I thought they would be. She said the vaccine is working. She said, she said she had a couple patients that had COVID that had been vaccinated. And she said they should be in really bad shape. Like one of them was a smoker, and apparently smokers, I guess it affects, because the lungs, we know about, she said it didn't affect them really bad. They had a mild case of it. So just pray about it. You have to make your own decision. Nobody can tell you what to do. If you don't get vaccinated, I don't hate you. If you do, I don't hate you. I mean, we've got to learn to be people in the world today. They're haters. They're haters.
So much offense going on.
Yeah.
It's the enemy. And there's a division. Are we going to be
Yeah.
with God, not taking offense, not giving offense as much as we can?
Respect. We've gotten where we don't respect people anymore. And that's sad. Respect people's decision and be mindful of others. It's all about consideration. And we've just lost that. I don't want the government to shut us down again. Everybody hates that. But what are we going to do? Render unto Caesar what Caesar's due. I mean, we have to obey the government.
As long as it doesn't go contrary
Yes.
to the word of God.
Amen. As long as we are not, as long as they tell me I can't come and worship, then there's gonna be a problem, you know? But we found ways around that. And hopefully this is gonna leave us sooner or later. It's gonna go away, we hope. We hope and pray it will. If not, maybe the Lord will come back. That's my,
We don't know what happens tomorrow.
And that would be good for us.
Yep.
But it would be awful for the unsaved.
Yes.
There's a reason.
We gotta go back to the scripture side.
Yeah.
Because God has taken care of everything that we encounter in His Word.
Yep.
And where Paul writes in Galatians, you're gonna sow to the flesh, you're gonna reap the flesh. You're gonna sow to the spirit, you're gonna reap the spirit. And until we learn to have the spirit ruling over our lives and over our flesh,
Yep.
we're gonna constantly have a battle with it. I mean, even when we still, choose to walk in the spirit, we're gonna still have a battle.
So just remember to try to balance, because this is a lot, isn't it? That's a lot to balance. And we got to get our priorities straight. And what works for you may not work for me.
Right.
Yeah, because we all have different situations. But let's remember to love each other and help each other out.
That's a big point that you just said.
Yeah.
What works for you,
Yeah.
what works for you might not work for me,
Yeah.
because we have different situations.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's a good thing to remember.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
You know,
God calls each of us to a path that He's chosen for us. No, we're not all on the same path.
Yeah.
But we have different paths and different functions and purposes that God has already ordained.
some of y'all are balancing elderly parents. Some of y'all, you don't have your parents anymore. That's a challenge to balance elderly parents, isn't it, Danny? Because these mamas get stubborn, don't they? But let's get to our sick, because I don't want to leave them out, because we do have quite a few. Sharon Tomberlin's funerals at 4 Graveside. Those of y'all that maybe are new, she's been sick for what?
11 years.
11 years with
I had
cancer.
one that was, I knew it was a long.
Yeah. Long time. And now how is her husband has been sick too, right?
He's not
Yeah.
well at all.
Yep. So let's be in prayer for that family. Now you had a note up here, Tammy, about Byron Starnes. How is he?
Roughly. Low, but Jeff said, that's what I heard from her, they got him healed back up, and he's ready to fight.
I think the word of Byron, he works for Union County Public Schools, the maintenance department. I would see him all the time.
About Christian.
Yes.
Their witness is still phenomenal.
Yeah.
even
he would come and check on Joel when he found out Joel had cancer. Just a super guy. He's had cancer. I don't know if any of you know him. All right, Penny Cocker. I've been in touch with her, but I haven't got to go talk to her like I wanted to, because we both are on like I just can't get to go sit down with her because she's always I feel like she's trying to do a lot. Just, anyway, let's just keep her in our prayers. Anybody know Shelby Simpson? Anybody know an update on Shelby? All right, I haven't heard anything either, so. All right, who else have we got? Let's see.
Tony sent me a text and said that Mike passed out this morning, thankful he landed across my kitchen table and not the floor. His doctor had put him on blood pressure meds, and it has been dropping his blood pressure really low, and he won't be taking that anymore, but thankfully he did not get her.
All right, did y'all hear that? Mike passed out this morning,
Mike Merritt.
Mike Merritt. And, he was on some blood pressure medicine, so they're pretty sure that's what it was. So,
Took it too low.
yeah, took his blood pressure way down too low. So.
Mitch Kinley's birthday is Tuesday.
All right, Mitch Kinley's birthday is Tuesday. Who
And I
else?
talked to him yesterday, and he said he's doing okay. Hoping to go home in about a month.
What about Kat? Kat? About the same?
I think she's doing better than she was, you know.
Okay.
Has she gotten her brace yet?
I do not know. I haven't talked with them in the last few days. I do not know.
I know she posted something
Yeah,
about
she was
wanting to
doing
make sure she probably should be able to put it on.
How's both of y'all's mamas?
My mother's doing good,
How's,
and
Ruth.
she's doing okay.
I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think Leroy Simpson got to come back home. He's had a couple of things with AFib going on. So I think Miss Nell is getting a little bit of help in there to try to help her. Because they're in their late 90s. So, yeah, super people. Oh, man. If all my neighbors was like them, I love them. I love them. Just had a close relationship with them, and they're just good people. Who else?
Bobby Russian.
Is she not? Okay, Bobby Russian, they said Bobby Russian wasn't doing real good. Then they thought she had breast cancer.
Bobby?
Y'all can talk. That's what Becky said. Yeah. Yeah, that's what a couple of them have heard.
They're good. They're not going to,
Not gonna do anything. Okay.
they don't, her health is just not going to allow it.
Yeah, she's got, Alzheimer's.
Does she?
Yeah.
They said it's getting really bad.
I didn't know she had Alzheimer's.
She doesn't even realize that.
Okay. Okay, is there any other sick we've got? Well, let's make sure we pray for those that's traveling and on vacation, because we know that, yeah, we got a lot of people on vacation and traveling. And I'm glad to see everybody here, and let's just pray for the country and, God's will to be done. That's what we got to pray for, because can't fix it. I wished we could, because we're already back at work wearing our mask all the time, so, except when I'm at my desk. Yeah, we stopped for a little bit, but anyway, got to get back in that habit of putting it on when I get up from my desk. So, and that's okay. That's all right. All right. Let's see. John, do you feel like leading us? Thank you.
Lord, we thank you for today. Thank you for allowing us to help come out, listen to your word, and study the word. Thank you, Stephanie, for leading us today. We do a special prayer for everybody who mentioned who was sick, and just be with them and comfort them as long as you can. And just help us to comfort other people as we come in contact with their daily lives. Be with everybody that's traveling today, and all back till next week.
Tommy, your teacher's books are in here too for the next go around in a couple Sundays. So
Okay,
we did hand the books out. So
all right, I'll get them.
that's yours. So everybody else has got theirs.
All right.
Good job, Stephanie.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Does anybody else need new books for the fifth Sunday? Yes, ma'am. All right, all right.
There's a second
I
day.
don't- I'm trying to, so we can get out of here late. But Mama's class was late last Sunday too. She was like. So. This looks good.
Bye, y'all.